Okay, good evening, everyone. Today is Monday, November 27th, and we have a special Safety Services and Licenses Committee meeting. Madam Clerk, could you please take the attendance?
Councilman Ferry,
Present.
Council Vice Vargas, Councilwoman Jermaine, Councilman Wall,
Here.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Present.
Councilman Paplaskas,
Here.
Council President Marino.
Present.
Before we get started, this special meeting was called tonight to assist some businesses who got their renewal applications in late. So we're having this special meeting to make sure that they can stay in business and pay taxes to the city of Cranston. So anyways, is there anybody here in council chambers or on Zoom that would like to make any public comment on anything that's on tonight's agenda? If so, please step forward. No? Okay. How about on Zoom? Is there anybody on Zoom? I see no public comment. Okay, so I will at this time open and close public comment. Next, we have committee business matters carried over. The first item on here is a Class BVL liquor license for Shake Shack. Is anybody here from this establishment? As a matter of fact, I do know that this is Jackson Brown. Please step up to the microphone. And push button and make sure the green light goes. Is the green light on? Okay, you're good. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name's Jackson Brown. I reside at 299 Carpenter Street in Providence, Rhode Island.
Okay, so could you please tell us a little bit about why you're here and what the license is for?
Yep, so this is appearing on behalf of Shake Shack for the location in Garden City to procure our liquor license to sell beer and wine. We're kind of like a fast casual sit-down restaurant, just appearing to, finish up the process of getting our liquor license.
Is this something that most Shake Shacks do, sell a beer and wine?
Yes, there's one other location in Providence and they sell beer and wine as well.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve this, please? So moved.
Second.
Okay, is there anybody on the committee or on the council that would like to have any comment about this or ask the applicant any questions? You're gonna get off easy tonight. Okay, so we have a motion to approve in a second. Madam Clerk, please take a vote on this.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
Okay, you're all set. And I guess you'll contact the clerk's office to pick up the license. All right?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great night. Next, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Class BV liquor license renewals. They had not had the applications in for the last Safety Services meeting, so they are on tonight's agenda. Council, do we have to vote on these separately? They're a renewal. All 5 of them are renewals.
Because of the posture that this is in, I suggest, well, I would recommend you do each one individually.
Then we will do each one individually. Okay, the first one is 39 West Phoenix Plaza. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take a vote on 39 West, please.
Ferry,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Okay, next we have Asia Grill.
Motion to approve.
Second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take a vote.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas.
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
And next we have Vanguardia. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. Seeing that there's no discussion, Madam Clerk, please take a vote.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano.
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
Next we have L.A. Bailey's Incorporated.
Motion to approve.
Second. Discussion. Seeing there's no discussion, Madam Clerk, please take a vote.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
yes,
Next, we have T's Restaurant.
Motion to approve.
Second. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, Madam Clerk, please take a vote.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano.
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
yes,
Okay, we have next on the agenda, license renewals. First is public entertainment license for 39 West.
Motion to approve.
Second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take a vote.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
yes,
Next, we have victualling license for 39 West Phoenix Place Plaza.
Motion to approve.
Second. Any discussion? Seeing there's no discussion, Madam Clerk, please take a vote.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
yes,
Okay, and before we ask for a motion to adjourn, I would just like to make a comment that the clerk's office has been doing an outstanding job of trying to get people to comply and get their license applications in and updated on a regular basis. We're having this special meeting tonight just to help businesses. And there are still several businesses that have information they need to get into Rose to the clerk's office by Friday. So keep up the good work and keep us informed, Rose. Thank you very much. May I have a motion to adjourn? So moved. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Evening. Welcome to the Cranston City Council's regularly scheduled monthly meeting. Today is Monday, November 27th. At this time, if the clerk could please take the roll in attendance.
Councilman Ferry,
Present.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Here.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Present.
Councilman Donegan,
Present.
Councilman Campiano,
Here.
Council Paplaskas,
Present.
Councilman Wall,
Here.
Council Vice President Vargas, Council President Marino.
Present. Next this evening, if you could please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. At this time, I'd like to move on to the approval of minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the regularly scheduled October meeting?
So moved. Second.
All right, any discussion? There being none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay. Next, I'm looking for a motion to approve the sealed minutes of the October 23rd, 2023 executive session.
So moved.
Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor, say aye. All those opposed? We do not have any public acknowledgements and accommodations this evening, so we'll move directly to public hearings and public comment. At this time, if there is anyone in chambers that wishes to be heard on any docketed matter, if you could please state your name and address for the record, and please keep your comments limited to 4 minutes. We'll start in chambers and then we will move on to Zoom.
Sarah Cody, 311 Doric Avenue. Good evening, council members. Thank you very much for your time tonight. I'm the director for the One Cranston Health Equity Zone at CCAP, one of 15 health equity zones in the state. Sorry, sure. Do you want me to start over? Good, okay. So I'm the director for the One Cranston Health Equity Zone at CCAP, one of 15 health equity zones in the state, funded by the Rhode Island Department of Health. Our goal within Cranston is to support and equip community members to collaborate and create projects, places, and programming where residents can healthily live, learn, work, and play. I'm speaking today in regards to the resolution before you to recognize our Community Builders Grant Program, which will fund one project this year within each city ward. The Community Builders Grant Program, part of our HES, is designed to identify and partner with residents interested in bringing their neighbors together to complete small, quick action projects that improve their communities. This program has funded a variety of efforts, ranging from planting trees at a baseball field to funding signage on self-esteem for school bathrooms and purchasing books for a reading week, as well as a bench and signage for 2 local community gardens. One of these that you'll be hearing more about shortly, actually, the project focused on signage in school bathrooms, was submitted by elementary school students participating in student council at their school. In our HES's recent citywide needs assessment, with over 300 responses from Cranston residents, over 40% of residents discussed a need to build community in Cranston. Additionally, 1/3 requested help with building stronger connections to political and civic leaders. We see this ongoing program and your approval of recognition of this resolution as a way to begin to address these desires within Cranston. We greatly appreciate your consideration in moving this resolution forward. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Ellen Basso, Rhodes Elementary School librarian and student council mentor. I live at 71 Dale Hill Drive, East Greenwich, Rhode Island. I applied for the Community Builders Grant on behalf of the Student Council, which is a group of 8 5th grade students and 2 4th grade students. The students themselves paired off and wrote the answers to the questions of this grant. As their adult mentor, I simply transcribed their answers into the application form. We applied for the grant to purchase motivational posters to hang in the school bathrooms. The Student Council wanted to discourage students from writing on the walls and generally making the bathrooms messy due to silly or inappropriate bathroom behavior. Their solution was to do a school-wide presentation about appropriate behavior in the bathroom and to hang positive message posters in the bathrooms. Their thought was that if the bathrooms looked nicer, the students would be less likely to mess them up. Needless to say, the students were quite proud when they learned that they had been awarded this grant. But more importantly, it was extremely rewarding for these 9 and 10-year-old students to see the positive results of their idea. After the student presentations about what not to do in the bathrooms and the posters being hung, there was only one bathroom incident for the rest of the school year. This was a very small project that had a big impact on the school. The students were relieved not to have to report problems in the bathrooms. The teachers were relieved not to have to discipline students, and the custodian was grateful for less unnecessary work to do. Overall, this small grant was very helpful to all the members of the Rhodes Elementary School community, and I hope that you'll support this resolution tonight. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Eliane Boucher, 43 Magnolia Street. I'm here also in support of this resolution and in my capacity as the president of the PTO at William Dew Temple Elementary School. We were also a recipient of this Community Builders Grant, and what it allowed us to do was to actually host our first annual Earth Day celebration. Councilwoman Germain, I think you came at the very end of that last year. For us, part of our mission, I think one of the wonderful things about Cranston is we have these small neighborhood elementary schools. It really allows us to have these microcosms of community. And for our PTO, part of our mission is to build our community broadly within Dew Temple, not just among the students, but people who live in the neighborhood, and to get the families and the students who attend the school to understand that it's not just a place they go to school. It's the playground that's in their neighborhood. It's the park that's in their neighborhood. And unfortunately, if you've been to that park, it is quite ignored much of the time. We find a lot of not so great things in our playgrounds. So this really allowed us to take advantage of Earth Day to get our community to understand the value of preserving our green spaces. We had a cleanup, we had a band come and play, and the Community Builders Grant allowed us to also fund plants and getting our garden beds together, which allowed us to have fruits and vegetables and beautiful wildflowers that populated that area and brought the community to the green space, even when school wasn't in session. So I just want to lend my support to this resolution as well. It's a little bit of money, but it goes a long way for organizations like mine that don't get a whole lot of money, but who really do invest in wanting to build our community, because that's what's going to get people to take care of our neighborhoods and our spaces and each other, is to have events like this. And many people won't have the opportunity to do this without support from grants like the one that the Health Equity Zone has available. So again, I'm here to lend my support to this resolution and hope you will vote in support of it. Thank you.
Elena Rios, 52 Valley Street, Providence. Looking at space. Okay. My name is Elena Rios. I'm a youth services librarian here at Central Public Library, and I'm one of the recipients of this year's Community Builders Grant, here to speak to you tonight. Last fall, I was asked by Erica DePietro, principal of Stadium Elementary School, to give an affirmational speech to her K-5 students. She wanted me to encourage her kids to dream about their futures while also stressing the importance of the right now, and the right now is keeping up with attendance. Writing my speech was easy. Kids deserve the world, and they deserve to know that the sky is the limit. Convincing them was not my problem. My problem was having the message stay with them. And as I was writing my speech, I remembered that I have a car-shaped eraser. 15 years ago, when I was in 4th grade at Waterman Elementary School, Cranston did a program called Junior Achievements. And after setting our goals and measuring our steps to success, they gave us these little yellow and green shaped erasers. This is the part of the speech where I show you my eraser, but I'm a fool and I forgot it. However, everyone at Cranston Public Libraries has seen it, and the finance committee did see it. So it is a real thing, I promise. But we talked about those erasers all the way through high school. Even on graduation day, we talked about them, and mine was brand new. It is brand new. It exists, I promise. So I say all this to basically say that it was my turn as a favor back to the students of Cranston. I wanted to do that also. So with my grant, I purchased more than 50 little golden books plus color changing pencils with sweet messages, rubber bracelets with affirmational lines on them, and of course, fun erasers. Each child walked away with an eraser and at least one other goodie. The last time I was here, I spoke to the finance committee and I said that I didn't want to brag about making the kids' day, but then I realized that I'm literally here to brag about the grant. So yeah, I definitely made their day. They got to leave class and they got free stuff, and I spent about 30 minutes hyping them up. So I feel like I did a really good job. We're doing wonders here in Cranston, one day at a time. And it's just a simple gesture of giving them a gift to remind them that they are the most important assets in our city. And that is exactly what working with the HES is all about each and every time. It is a reminder that we are not just a city, but a community that is constantly evolving. Cranston is made up of a team, and every one of us who lives or works here is part of it. And the most important ones are, of course, our students. And now that the message gets to live a little bit longer when they sharpen their pencils or they get to open their little golden book about Taylor Swift. So I hope you consider recognizing the importance of the Builders Community Grant. I know I have, and everyone else at CPL can agree. Thank you and good evening. Thank you.
There being no one else in chambers, Tom, is there anyone on Zoom that wishes to be heard?
Annette Bourne.
And
Good evening, everyone. I regret that I can't be there in person, but I didn't want to not speak tonight on behalf of the Community Builders Grant. My name is Annette Bourne. I reside at 51 Community Drive in Cranston. I am writing to lend my voice in strong support of the resolution to support the One Cranston Health Equity Zones Community Builders Grant Program. This program was conceived more than 5 years ago as a way to bring residents together and support their ideas for projects for improvements in their neighborhoods and community. The grants were small, but the impacts, especially as you have heard tonight already, were great. While I've been a working member of the Community Connectors Work Group, I was also part of the group that applied and received a grant in 2019. We conducted a walk bike audit that worked collaboratively with the city's planning department to map out routes across the city for residents to record their experiences in walking and biking. Residents submitted photographs as well as audit sheets for the routes they traveled. The funding provided for a planning consultant from the well-known firm of Horsley and Witten to review the findings and make a formal presentation to the residents and the planning department. While this was a small effort, I trust its findings can be useful today as the city begins to engage in more work on transportation and its comprehensive plan. I urge the city council members to support this resolution. Thank you.
I see no other public comment. Give it a minute.
just a reminder, if there is anyone on Zoom that wishes to be heard that's on phone, you can press *9 to be heard. Last call.
Helena Dolidi. And they need to unmute.
Okay, sorry, figuring out how to do the Zoom webinar. This is, I also wanted to say something in support of the resolution about complete streets in Cranston. Providence has implemented something like this. They've implemented Vision 0 and have a goal of eliminating pedestrian fatalities by 2030, which is really ambitious. And streets in Cranston are really dangerous. A lot of the intersections are really dangerous. I and my family, which is my elderly parents, have been biking more around Cranston, like biking between Garden City and Dave's Market, which is not a far distance, but that short ride is still really dangerous. And I worry a lot, especially about my parents riding their bikes on the streets. And I think it's important that Cranston develop safer streets in a way that's going to be really backed by research And I would encourage city council to do some real research on different kinds of safety measures you can have, like daylighting, better pedestrian infrastructure, better sidewalks, better bike lanes, and things like that to make the city a lot safer.
Before you go, if you can please just state your name and address for the record. We're not sure the clerk obtained it. Thank you.
Olana Deluty, Deluty, and 90 Sheffield Road, Cranston.
Thank you. Anyone else, Tom?
Yes, Dario Phoebe Brashear.
And again, just a reminder, if you can state your name and address for the record and press *9 if you're on phone to unmute.
Hi, it's Dario Phoebe Brashear. I live at 1900 Broad Street, and I basically just wanted to offer comment in favor of the complete streets resolution that you're going to be looking at later this evening. I'm a regular cyclist and pedestrian in Cranston, and we definitely could stand some traffic calming. So thanks for your consideration.
I see no other public comment.
At this time, public comment is now closed. If the clerk can please just note that Council Vice President Vargas is now with us as well. Before we move on to reports of committees, I would like to entertain a motion to take the agenda out of order. If anyone could make that motion.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Council Vice President Vargas.
Yeah.
Council President Marino.
Yes. Okay. Next this evening, we have reports of committees. First up is the Finance Committee, and I will turn this over to Councilman Donegan as chair of that committee.
Thank you, Council President. Before us this evening from the Finance Committee, we have several items. The first being consideration of tax interest waiver approvals for the month of October 2023, as requested by the City Treasurer. This passed out of committee, and I would urge passage this evening.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas.
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Council Vice President Vargas,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
Next, we have consideration of tax interest waiver denials for the month of October 2023, as requested by the City Treasurer. This passed out of committee. I would urge passage this evening.
So motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Council Vice President Vargas.
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
There's a resolution authorizing real estate tax abatements as recommended by the tax assessor. This passed out of committee. I would urge passage this evening.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Council Vice President Vargas.
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
We have a resolution authorizing tangible tax abatements as requested by the tax assessor. This passed out of committee. I would urge passage this evening.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Council Vice President Vargas.
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
And lastly, we have a resolution proposing recognition of the Community Builders Grant Program funded by the One Cranston Health Equity Zone of Comprehensive Community Action. which is CCAP, within each ward. This is sponsored by Councilman Ferry, Council President Marino, co-sponsored by myself, Councilwoman Renzulli, and Councilwoman Jermaine. This passed out of committee, and I would strongly urge passage this evening.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilman Ferry.
Yes, I'll be really quick. This is a perfect example of how a little bit of money can go a long way. And my hopes are that the total of this grant that they're putting out is $300 a ward, $1,800. I want to hope that the next year the council can come up with another $1,800 based on the demand that they get for these grants. So I hope that you all support this and vote to approve it. Thank you very much.
Anyone else wishes to be heard? Councilman Campapiano.
Yes, thank you, Council President. I'd just like to be added as a co-sponsor.
Sure. Councilman Paplaskas.
I'd like to be added as a sponsor as well.
Councilwoman Renzulli.
Thank you. As I said at the Finance Committee meeting, I'm in full support of this. I think it's amazing that the people who have come up to speak. The eraser story really got me. I will tell you that I went to a school and also gave out erasers after hearing you tell that story, and I'm going to continue to do that with things like that. I plan to do that for my athletes, stuff that they will remember going forward the same way that you remember that. What I think is great about this is hearing that I've gone to speak to help create different student councils and to see that kids are actually working together to answer these questions, and they have mentors who are just inputting the information. That's setting kids up for success in the future. We could have a future of grant writers or people who are going to be, in government, maybe sitting here one day, who know exactly what to do because they're doing it in elementary school, middle school, high school. I think it's amazing. So I agree with Councilman Ferry that we should definitely take money from orders of the council or wherever we can get it to help increase this going forward, because there's a lot of opportunity here. Thank you.
Council Vice President Vargas.
Thank you. I just like to be added as sir.
Sure.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else wishes to be heard? No. Councilwoman Jermaine.
Thank you. What I want to say is, this organization is doing such an amazing job here, and the support for all of us, that there is no price to that. And having this to bring the community together, that's priceless. And as long we can work together to make sure we continue to bring the community together, and I will always in support of that. And that's one of the things I always say, let's get together, let's bond, okay, make the bond together. Let's us as a community show that we are one, we're diverse, but we are showing that we valued the community. And that's what it is about. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Jermaine. Councilman Donegan.
Thank you, Council President. This has been a great program over the years. I've been very fortunate to be involved with the HES since it started, and the organization is such a great collaboration and melting pot of everyone from all different parts of the city. And I think that the organization as a whole does such a great job at enabling and encouraging people to get involved in ways that maybe they might not have previously seen as available. And it's just a great way for people to build community and make a difference. This is a great program. Thank you to those involved, and look forward to supporting this.
Right. I believe everyone has who wanted to be heard has spoken. I would like to say that I echo the sentiments of my colleagues. Your organization, what you do every day, has a hands-on impact in people in our community in ways that we can't even imagine. And this program is something that I would say, you make a big difference in little ways. It's those little touch points that you have with people and these little impacts that actually make a big difference in a powerful way in their life, in ways that will hopefully, pan out even more in the future. And I thank you for that. The other thing I'll say is, the public is also able to donate funds to CCAP, and they can designate the money to this, program relative to the resolution as well. And so a little shout out there for whatever that's worth as well. Thank you. Councilman Ferry.
I'm sorry. I forgot to say one thing before. The thing I like the most about being a community connector and helping is that you're surrounded by people that are always trying to help other people. And it's not every day that you can be in a situation like that. So you guys do a great job. Thank you.
At this time, if you can please take the roll.
Councilman Ferry.
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine.
Yes.
Councilman Donegan.
Yes.
Councilman Campiano.
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas.
Yes.
Councilman Wall.
Yes.
Council Vice President Vargas. Yes. Council President Marino.
Yes.
You guys don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting.
Right. Next this evening is report out of the Public Works Committee, and I'll turn it over to Council Vice President Vargas as chair.
Thank you, Council President. The Public Works Committee met on November 16, 2023. There was one item, and that is 10-23-02, ordinance and amendment of Title 13, Public Services, Chapter 13.08 of the City of Cranston, 2005, entitled Sewer Service System, and this was sponsored by Mayor Kenneth Hopkins. This passed out of committee unanimously, and an encouraged passage.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Ferry.
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine.
Yes.
Councilman Donegan.
Yes.
Councilman Campiano.
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas.
Yes.
Councilman Wall.
Yes.
Council Vice President Vargas.
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes. Next this evening is report out of the Claims Committee, Councilwoman Jermaine.
Thank you, Council President. The Claim Committee met on November 6, 2023. And at the executive session, we did vote and for claim on executive session. We have no vote to be taken today.
Thank you, Councilwoman Jermaine. Next this evening is public comment for undocketed matters. If there's anyone in chambers or on Zoom that wishes to be heard this evening on any undocketed item, now is your opportunity. Please state your name and address for the record, and please keep your comments limited to 4 minutes. Is there anyone in chambers that wishes to be heard on any undocketed matters?
Good evening. My name is Michael Hoban. My address is 19 Plantation Drive here in Cranston. And I'm here tonight to respectfully request a 4-way stop sign and 4 crosswalks at the intersection of Plantation Drive, Elm Drive, and Magazine Street. I sent an email. We can all probably agree that the Garden City School is really a beautiful building. It's doubled the size of that school and has really impacted that local little neighborhood back there. I sent an email on August 31st with a subject line, urgent safety concern. I did receive a very quick reply from the council president that evening. I really had hoped that at the construction of the school, that there would be some changes to the traffic patterns in the neighborhood as a result of the double of size of that school. I've lived in my house for 23 years and have repeatedly seen cars speed down Plantation Drive at alarming rates. I did resend another email again on September 10th with and I did receive another very quick reply, but with an additional request to reply back to me when you had more information about the investigation of that space after the school year had begun. At that time, I did not have a city council representative, so there was an election happening, so I did not have local representation to reach out to. So I did reach out to a number of members of the council, in addition to the mayor, et cetera, just to make sure that it was at least considered. Well, here we are. It's November 27th, 3 months later. I've yet to receive any information about the results of any review of that space. I have noted that there are this is the intersection that is directly in front of where the bus loops are, the parent drops off are. There are at least a minimum of 3 crossing guards, humans that actually cross people back and forth during the beginning and the end of the school day. Could be even more than that, but I've witnessed a minimum of 3. My concern is really not at school time. My concern is also before school time and after school time, weekends, et cetera. It is just a very busy space where kids go back to the school and play. There is a 4-way stop sign at Poplar Drive in Cypress Drive, not even close to the school. There's a 4-way stop sign at Plantation Drive and Cypress Drive down the street. Magazine Street and Kearney Street has a 4-way stop sign that is northeast of the school, a block away. And 2 blocks away at Magazine and Capuano Avenue, there's a 3-way stop sign because it's a perpendicular road. So not even close to the actual opening of the school area are multiple 4-way or 3-way stops. I just don't understand why there couldn't be 2 more stop signs and 2 more crosswalks put at that most the busiest space of that new school. Also to note, there are 13 small children who either live or very frequently visit the 6 houses that are north of that intersection heading towards Garden City Drive. So 13 little children, I would even argue under the age of 8, who are in that space, 6 houses north of that intersection for that to be considered. So I am here to respectfully request that there be some review of that space and 2 more stop signs be placed in addition to the 2 that are currently on Magazine Street and Elm Street, but 2 more to be put on the north and south side of that intersection on Plantation Drive. Thank you.
There's no one else in chambers. Anyone on Zoom, Tom? And for those of you on phone on Zoom, *9 to unmute.
I see no public comment.
And I'm sorry, it was *9 to raise hand. Sorry. It's been a long day. All right. We are now moving on to election appointment of city officials. First, we have an appointment of a member of the City Council to serve on the Advisory Committee on Parks and Recreation through January 6, 2025. I wonder if there may be a motion to appoint Councilman Donegan in that role from any members on the council.
Motion to appoint Councilman Donegan to the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Council Vice President Vargas,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes. Next is on the agenda, the appointment of Robert Santuri Jr. to the Tax Assessment Board of Review as the 3rd member, replacing another member whose term has expired and it's ending January 5, 2026. Do I have a
Motion to approve?
Any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Ferry.
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine.
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Council Vice President Vargas.
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes. Next, the appointment of Elizabeth Bettis as a member of the Juvenile Hearing Board, replacing an expired term. So that her term will begin on December 1, 2023 through December 1, 2026.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas.
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Council Vice President Vargas.
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes. Now we have the appointment of Catherine Crowley to the Juvenile Hearing Board as the 1st alternate. for a term beginning December 1 through December 1 of 2024. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second,
Any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
yes,
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Council Vice President Vargas, Council President Marino.
Yes. Next is the reappointment of Kristen Haroyan to the Juvenile Hearing Board for a term December 1 through December 1, 2026. Do you have a motion?
Motion to approve?
second,
Any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
yes,
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Council Vice President Vargas.
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes. Next, we have executive communications. We have the legal expense analysis for the period up to November 21st of 2023. Does anyone have any questions to the administration regarding that legal analysis report, the expenses? No? And also we have from Director Pizzulo of Planning, a status report on the comprehensive plan. I see Director Pizzulo is here with us. If you just want to let us know where that stands, we appreciate it. Thank you.
There's not a whole lot to talk about at this point, from last month. The plan's being worked on with consultant, with staff, we're gathering data. The first elements are going to, go live this month. The first one that we're starting with is, the energy element. So that's gonna be, available and, you know, commission and the public can make comments. And then we will be accelerating through the rest of the new year. The first big public hearing on this is going to be late in January, probably the 4th week in January. The date hasn't been set yet, but that's the target. This is going to be a public meeting, charrette style. There'll be breakout groups and tables and discussions on different topics. So yeah, that's one not to miss. So I will be sure to let everybody know when that time comes to be at that one. That's a very important one. So in the meantime, that's what we are.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone have any questions for the director? No. Thank you very much.
Very good.
Next, I'm going to move to page 5, introduction of new business. I would seek a motion to take the new business matters as a block.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion on that? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
yes,
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas, Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Council Vice President Vargas.
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes, and now do we have a motion to move all these matters to their respective committees with the exception of a scrivener's error relative to ordinance 11-2302. That will be referred to the Safety Services Committee on December 4th.
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion? There being none, Rosala, can you please take the roll.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
yes,
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas, Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Council Vice President Vargas,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes. Then for our informational purposes on page 6, just make note of the meeting schedules for the next year for city council, for the planning commission, and for the municipal court. Now we can go back to page 4, and Under Council President Communications, just want to remind of the Rhode Island Veterans Food Donation Drive to support Operation Stand Down Rhode Island. The donations, food donations, non-perishable items are still being collected at the libraries, the police department, and the fire stations. Those will be collected on December 1st and delivered to Operation Stand Down at that time. And for those who have contributed, we thank you. And if anyone has the ability to donate some items in the meantime, I know that those will go to great use and will be greatly appreciated. Okay. Next up is council member communications. First, we have Councilwoman Renzulli, your matter.
Thank you, Madam President. This, I'm just going to keep on all the agendas going forward. I'd just like to know the status of any open grant applications. By open grant application, I mean anything that we've applied for, but haven't necessarily heard back one way or the other. If just what is out there that we're waiting to hear on, and is there anything that we need to be doing in order to facilitate the process?
Those outstanding grants would be 4 of them. One is 3 of which are federal funds, or actually 4 kind of. $344,000 request for 4 new K-9 vehicles for the police department. $1,750,000 for further Niceville infrastructure improvements. $1,500,000 for a expansion of the Budlong Pool complex, such as for a splash pad, family areas, and just to improve it to more of a family recreational facility. Again, that was $1,500,000. And as we know, there's that Learn 365 grant from the state is executing with the use of their ARPA funds. And Cranston, now the allocation is just short of $7.2 million.
Director, do you know when we should be hearing back on each of these? And is there anything we need to be doing in the meantime?
No,
for them?
Yes, the first 3, they're in the federal hands. So
Is it earmark? We're waiting for the federal budget kind of thing?
their process, and obviously what's going on in Washington, there's no specific
Okay.
time frame.
Just a quick question, the Budlong Pool expansion money, is that in addition? Is that on top of the money that we have already put aside for the Budlong Pool?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you. And in regards to the state grant,
In
the
terms of
community
that,
center grant, is
yeah,
there anything more on that?
Yeah, actually, with this, along with Councilwoman Germain's discussion, I think the mayor had sought input certainly from the council. You remember the last time, the deadline's rapidly approaching, actually, for what the city has done is submit a grant as and I'll frankly say more of a placeholder, as I think I indicated previously, for 8,500 to 9,000 square foot community center facility on city property to be identified later, to give this body and the administration more time to do due diligence and specifically identifying a location. That deadline is soon approaching, probably in the next week or so, to submit if we wanted to proceed with a proposed community center. So any further input from the council would be greatly appreciated, because as we know, it's not a mayoral decision, and the mayor wants to do it in concert with the council, and frankly has no authority to proceed to build or buy without the council's approval. So submitting a grant for that facility that the council does not want is a frugal attempt at that grant. So the council input would be more than valued, as particularly over the next few days. So whatever your recommendations are would very much be appreciated.
Director Marty, this would be a question for you, or I guess your solicitor, or finance director, is the finance director back there and I can't see him or he's
Yeah,
not here?
no.
Not here. Okay, or
He's-
perhaps the auditor, process wise, if you need something from us as you, I understand you to be indicating, what is it that you need? Is it a resolution from the council telling you what we want? Is it just an ask? I don't know that we've come to this before. We haven't, since I've been on the council, had an example of this. So,
Yeah, I frankly, the mayor does not need input from the city council. Administrative can put to a request, but doesn't feel doing that on his own is the right thing to do. Because if the council doesn't want it, then he certainly doesn't want to proceed, and values the input of the council. So whatever the council or collectively, you don't necessarily even have to vote, but issue your opinions this evening, or very, very soon, whether you want to have caucuses and representatives, give the mayor some feedback, if you'd like to. Otherwise, there's the option of not submitting the follow-up information for the grant. That's an option. Some sites for discussion earlier, as we all know about, would be the Arlington School Facility, whereas there's a timeline constraint or challenge, certainly, if all goes well and the Gladstone School is built on time and Arlington is vacated, that would leave just a little over a year to have to either renovate or construct the facility. The school department did an assessment, again, I'm repeating myself, so tell me if you want me to stop. Did an assessment, I believe about 3 or 4 years ago, to say at that time was about $7 million it would take to renovate that facility. And they said with inflation now, they're probably saying it's to the tune of maybe $10 to $12 million, which is far exceed the amount of this grant opportunity. The other option would be to knock down the building and construct a new community center there, given the funds that we have. And that would probably be in the vicinity of an 8,500 square foot building by, given the funding of the $7.2 million. A thought was tossed out about utilizing some land that's in the Knightsville area, Briggs Street and Green Avenue, back
Madam
of
President, if I may, we have to stick to the status of grant applications rather than prospective projects.
So I'll just summarize relative to the application. If there's council input, formally, informally, caucus, be appreciated. And we'll go from there. If without that input, the mayor is going to be taking a guess as to what the council wants.
so input is desired, but not needed, but desired. Is that what, I just want to
What will probably happen if the mayor doesn't receive input from the council's desires, you really have to weigh even submitting it. Would it be fair to the other communities if we don't carry through with this project, that those funds would be allocated to other facilities and we wouldn't move forward. But it's a bit odd. It's not every city and town are like this, because a lot of towns, they have a city manager reporting to the council. Things are done a bit differently. And as we know, we've had some discussion on this in the past, but it hasn't really progressed significantly.
Okay, thank you.
And next, Council Vice President Vargas, your council member communication matters.
Thank you, Council President. So I have an item on here where there's a couple of items underneath one of my questions, and I believe that's the only council communication that I have. and it has to do with the property that is located at 1890 Broad Street, here in our great city. The property that I have, the reason why I'm kind of just bringing it to the attention of the council, and I have to say that I've been in communication with the mayor's office, which today responded to a couple of my questions that I have, and I believe that the mayor was meeting the owner of the property. And while there's a few questions that I have under my item on here, you know, who is the property owner? Have they pulled any permits for demolition or construction? Have they made any applications to the planning or zoning board for renovations? I'm reading this out loud in case folks watch this and have no idea what's under council communications other than going online. Has the building department or fire department inspected the property recently for health and safety? And if so, where are the reports? Why is the property not secured? It is next to a public school. Has the state reached out to the city's administration about possible development and use of the building? Some of those questions, it's just questions that have been brought to my attention by residents of the surrounding building. And so hence the reason why I'm asking that in terms of like who is like the property owner. It's clearly on Tax Vision. I understand that, and that is public information. It does state that it's Spring Street on there. And the mayor did respond saying it was someone else, but I assume it's because that person's doing business under that realty. My concern here is not to put a specific building or owner on the spot. But if we recall about maybe in 2021, or maybe it was last year, there was a structural damage in that building. And unfortunately, there was a lot of units that were occupied by tenants that had to be evacuated immediately. Under a previous ownership, not under the current one. I just want to be clear of that. So when there are a few folks in the neighborhood who have brought to my attention that there is a safety concern that they're kind of worried about, and that it's next to a school, I just want to make sure that whether or not this property in itself, where the permits are up to code or are they not up to code. The permit that I had seen was from 2 years ago. And so I'm curious if I don't think the building inspector is with us this evening. And while I appreciate to the director, the fact that the mayor's been proactive, particularly today, and reaching out and heading over there, and director, you as well, responding to some of my emails. And thank you. So some of these questions have been answered, but just for the record, so for folks watching, I just want to double check though on one item is how long are the permits that are being issued valid for? Is there an expiration date on the permits? The permit that I saw that's posted on the building was for quite some time, was maybe 2022 or so. And I'm just curious, has the inspector gone by? For me, again, it's more of the fact that, you know, it's a building code, and I just want to make sure we're up to code, whether or not it needs fencing or not around it. Director Moretti, before you respond to some of the questions, I just so everybody knows, the concern was that although the dumpster was in fact, and I went by like bright and early this morning, and the dumpster is no longer overflowing. We as a city have an ordinance on dumpster overflow. And I understand that we as a council can bring any business or owner in general, particularly for a possible show cause. If we have an ordinance in particular on dumpster, this goes for any multi-family place in the city, the ordinance should be enforced, and the overflowing of a big dumpster should actually be done, particularly when there's a rodent problem here in the city of Cranston, because that's what it does. It was clean today, so I did well, not today, but when I went by today, it was clean as opposed to a week ago or so when it was not cleaned. And so I actually provided some pictures Tom, I don't know if you have, I think maybe 3 total. Yep. Just so folks understand what I was kind of looking at. My concern is there's a school right next door. I don't know whether it could be fenced or not. That is the dumpster of which the dumpster, I don't think that location is right for it. I thought that that was actually city property right there, like on the street. And so it was eventually moved. So I wanted to make sure that when I sent this, it had not been moved yet. The dumpster was just moved. That was moved today because I went by and the dumpster was where it was. And so that was one picture. And that's the property, by the way, I believe it's going on construction, which I'm asking for safety purposes, whether or not that there's been the reports that have been pulled are up to date. And then the next picture that I have is now where the dumpster has been moved at some point this afternoon. That was the pictures that were sent over. And I thank the owner for doing that. The third picture that I have was, I don't know if we can zoom in, but that's initially where the dumpster was. I'm sorry, there was another picture. Did I send you maybe the wrong one? It was it's okay, Tom. Don't worry about it. It's okay. You can leave that one. That's fine. But there was an overflowing, that one doesn't show it, but it wasn't emptied out and there was a overflowing of items on there. And I was just hoping that whether it is the tenants that are doing that, ultimately it's the owner's responsibility. But to the left of that dumpster on the left-hand side is a lot of, it looks like construction debris that's just thrown right there. To the right side of the dumpster, there's a parking lot there with like the teachers and the parents may park and there's a school playground. So where I'm coming from this is more of a safety concern here, not only for the students and the staffers, but the folks nearby. And so whether the state has reached out to the city in terms of any property possibly being taken over for housing, those were just rumors that were or circulating that I'm not sure. And that's ultimately, I would think, right, between the state and the owner. It's a private owner. That's not one of our assets. It's not a building that belongs to us as a city. But I am curious, Director Moretti, the permits for this building, how long ago were they pulled? If in fact it wasn't like 2022 or so, and when we do provide a permit for construction, how long does that last?
Yeah, excuse me, the demo permit was pulled on January 11th, 2022. And then subsequent to that, in July of 2021, July 21st, 2022, the rebuild and construction permit for the staircase, exterior staircase and balconies were pulled. Construction has been reported has been in process. It has been a bit slow, but in process. And the building inspector, in fact, I asked the building inspector that exact same question today. In practices, as long as they are progressing, the permit would still be active. If it's dormant, then it could be revoked. I have to refer to the ordinance, which I don't have. Perhaps one of the attorneys might have that specifically. But I can tell you in practice, that's what they do. If there is movement, there's progression, they allow the work to continue.
And in terms of the permit, is there a permit for each phase within the actual construction? So in other words, if it's a permit that is being pulled because it's one section of the property is going to be worked on, by the time they get to the other facade, I think that's how you say it, of the building, does that permit cover the whole construction? Because there's a lot of different phases within that building based on the actual sign that is being posted on the building itself.
Mm-hmm. I did not review personally that permit to say what the content said, but oftentimes I'll call it an inflection point or a checkpoint when certain work is done and it needs to be inspected before the next phase, then they'd be in. Specifically to this permit, I don't have that information.
Okay. And is that a building director? Sorry.
If I just could interject just for a moment. When permits are pulled in the city, work has to commence within, I believe, 6 months. After that, the permit expires. But once you begin construction, once you begin the process, the only requirement is that it be done in a reasonably speedy fashion. You know, it can't take 10 years. Then you might run into, an issue. But the only requirement, as I understand it, with the permit itself is that work just needs to begin within that allotted time period. Now, as the director started to talk about, and I don't claim to be an expert on, that's really for the building inspector, would know this better than I would, but as he said, there are different phases to the construction. So there'll be electrical, there'll be plumbing, there'll be mechanical, all of that stuff. And as he said, once those phases are complete, then an inspector comes down. And for instance, you can't close up the wall. You wouldn't be able to put sheetrock up until the electrical wiring is inspected. So until that's done, you could not complete the project, but he's right in terms of that. The only other, so the permit would, in my understanding is that it covers the whole project. You don't need all these little separate permits, as long as obviously the contractor has to pull a permit. So if an electrical contractor goes in, they have to pull a permit to be able to work on the place. But the general contractor, my understanding is we just pull a permit, estimate the cost of the project, and then would pay the appropriate fee. But that's, as I said, the building inspector would probably.
So that permit can technically last 2 years.
Well, it depends on the scope,
Okay,
the complexity of the project.
because it'll be 2 years in January.
I understand, but that we would have to rely on the building inspectors. It depends what they put in the application. I don't know how much is involved here. I have no idea. Obviously, if we're talking about a couple of units, that's one thing. If we're talking about the entire building, that's something else. I just don't know the scope or the breadth of the project. That's something that the building inspector would have to answer to.
Okay. Mr. Verdecchia, to the director, double check on that and find out whether or not that permit in general that applies for what they're asking to do. But most importantly, for me, it's more of are we, because it's right next to the school and there's construction happening, that's what I'm really interested in knowing. Is there any type of fencing off that you do at all between that south area, not on the side, but behind, where the dumpster is, right? Where it is, not where it is now, but where it was, right? That part of it, I know part of that is parking, but there's like a little section of that building, and I don't know if that's being used. But if not, I'm wondering, just for safety purposes, can we as a city actually ask the owner or the company as to whether or not that area to have a more safety zone?
Given the conversation I did
Not
have with the
sure.
building inspector, the standard is using appropriate safeguards, given the construction. So there is some, I don't want to say subjectivity, but I guess it's subjectivity involved with what's appropriate. They do feel if it's appropriate, and primarily in terms of relative to schools, there's nothing per se that says in code, given if it's a certain proximity to schools that's required. This particular case in the rear of the building inspector or the fire chief want that closed off or fenced off for rescue purposes, fire apparatus getting to that facility. It's concerning if that was closed off, they would have public safety concerns for the residents that are there, because there are residents at the first level. So they would rather not see that area closed off or fenced.
Okay, no, that's fair enough, because as you pointed out, yes, there are folks who are living in that building.
Yes.
At least the first floor, to my knowledge.
Yes.
From what I've been told. So, okay, so if you can follow up with me, email is actually fine in
Okay.
terms of the permit part of it.
Mhm.
I will make sure that the information that also has been provided that I will make sure that it gets, forwarded to the few, to the parents who had reached out and some of the neighbors, because it's not just the parents of the school, but it's some of the surrounding neighbors as well in terms of their concern. You know, I don't want to see any building that is I don't want to see a vacant building in our city. So I am thankful that there is ownership of that building. And that there is work being done in that building, particularly because of the history of it. But I also want to make sure that as construction is taking place, that building inspectors and are taken into account the safety of everyone around the area. So that was last approved by Director Rodeo. Is he still with us? Okay, so I'll follow up on the
Yeah,
permit. of it.
just to mention that permit was for the exterior, so you're talking stairwells in the balconies. I'm not sure of how many, I'll call them inflection points or phases. But I do know at this point, that the Director Rodeo did mention to me that none have been required, given the work that's been performed to date. I can certainly get back to you with those phases, if there's any phases versus beginning and completion. Happy to do that. Just want to pass that along. A couple of other small points. He did mention that the general contractor is very much on site and very amiable to respond to any reasonable requests, that he feels they have a good relationship with them. So he's a good person to speak with. Just want to pass that along also.
I appreciate that, and also hope, whether it's the contractor or the property owner, that they also remove the debris. And when they do remove their debris, that it stays cleaned out in that area, particularly, for example, like that dumpster. I think it might have been on the street and not exactly where it is, or the overflowing of the dumpster. It's just something worth
Sure.
sending along.
Pass that along.
But yes, but thank you for the response and being proactive and heading over to the location. today.
Important to note too, I think I mentioned to you that fire has been there, in that there was a fire inspection periodically has been done. So they dropped in that their fire safety equipment is operable, the fire alarm system and functioning, particularly for the existing residents. And they do, the inspections department do ride-bys. They're kind of peeking in or stopping over to just monitor the situation. Not necessarily officially, but to make sure safety considerations are in place, so they're performing in accordance with the permits.
Thank you. Now, I know nothing, again, what I mentioned earlier was, to my knowledge, nothing has been presented, at least to me, or in terms of housing opportunity in that actual location. And it seems to be like it's more of a business that would be done between the private owner of that property and the state, if that is, if what I'm hearing could be true or not. If at any given point, there is a meeting, and I can't tell the mayor what meetings I, can and cannot be invited, but I would like to be part of that, considering that is in Ward 1. If the city was to ever be involved in terms of that part of the process pertaining to housing.
Yeah, sure thing.
Given the fact that prices that we're currently in.
There was just some general discussion. The mayor just asked the governor and Mr. Pryor that should there be any housing for financially disadvantaged people, that it would include families, more so families than necessarily individuals, and concern for the children. But
Appreciate it
certainly,
again, given the
absolutely,
fact that it's in that ward.
Regardless of
if there's any meetings of which there's an
not-
opportunity for me to sit at the table, particularly on this matter, I'd be happy to do so.
There
Thank you.
haven't been any in particular, but certainly I know the mayor would love to have you, seriously.
All right. Thank you so much. That is all that I have for this evening, Council President. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Vice President Vargas. Next this evening is Councilwoman Jermaine.
Thank you, Council President. I have to mention that my voice is not good today. I lost my voice. I have been feeling well for the past week, so sorry for my voice. I did I have to make a statement, so why I bring this discussion today. So let me read it for you because I have some question that I would like to have some clarification on. And let me read this statement. I want to make it clear to everyone, including those who have been supporting me since day one in this journey in the council. I want to tell you that everything I do and every decision I make is driven by my commitment to justice, equity, transparency, and honesty. I want to set it
Madam
straight.
President, we've got to stick to the agenda item. We can't be making political statements on the floor of speeches. Has to pertain to the agenda item.
I am giving background for why I bring. I don't know what is wrong from what I bring here. I have to back a background why I bring this topic, why you have to stop me to not telling why I'm bringing this. What is controversial in this, saying why I am saying why I bring this discussion.
With, Councilman Jermaine, if I can intervene, you mentioned the word controversial. Solicitor Angel, and I believe, Attorney Angel and Solicitor Verdecchio was going to as well. It's not controversial. It's about compliance with Open Meetings Act. And the agenda item this evening is discussion on Park Theater proposal.
Yes.
And they just want to make certain that you comply with the agenda item and speak to that and not make broader statements relative to some of the things that you had mentioned. That's the best and simplest way I can
Like-
try and explain it to you. That's all.
Okay. Like what? Like the one thing I said that is not correct, can you let me know? I can remove it?
I'm gonna make a suggestion. Why don't we take a 5-minute break? If you have it already written and prepared, would you like to confer, you know, just to make sure that what you're about to say is in compliance and not exceeding what you are able to say this evening? Does that make sense?
I don't understand what's going on. What's going on? This is the first time. I always, when I have my question, anything I have, this is the way I operate. Since I start in this council, I always give my background information. I never did anything differently. If you go all my meetings, I always prepare my background information, why I'm saying it, what I say. So if there's something that will be, I don't know, when I'm done, so I don't want to stop me saying, just shut me off. I don't want that. If there's something, I will bear the consequences. Bringing the
Councilwoman Jermaine?
No.
I tried to, no, please, let me speak. Councilwoman Jermaine, I'm trying to be of assistance and explain in simpler terms what the lawyers have stated. I am not trying to stifle your ability to speak this evening. This isn't from me. This is the legal requirement. So you've been advised. I've made a suggestion, trying to facilitate to make sure that you don't overstep in what you're going to speak this evening and make sure you stick to the agenda item. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. I'm just giving you an option. And if you do overstep, then the solicitor and or Attorney Angel will have to point that out to you. That's the.
I agree with that.
requirement. Thank you.
Let me finish what I'm saying. If there's something that is not correct, and let me know. But I don't say anything here. I don't say anything that I said. I said, I want to make a statement with why I bring this discussion. And I don't think there is anything wrong to say, I'm gonna make a statement for why I am bringing this discussion this evening. And I said that. And what is the big word that I said here, and the solicitors just stopped me. And I said, let me see where I was. I said, I want to make it clear to everyone, including those who have been supporting me since day one on this journey in the council. What is wrong with that one? I want to tell you that everything I do and every decision I make is driven by my commitment to justice, equity, transparency, and honesty. This is in my website. So I want to reiterate that. I want to set this straight. That's what I said. What is wrong with this? As someone who represents Ward 2, where Park Theater is located, I was not given any opportunity to weigh in on the proposal. I listened to the Park Theater debacle in the press. What I can say, frankly, is I hate double standards. My initiative this evening is an effort to understand what really happened with the Park Theater decision and what can happen. I believe that everyone should have the opportunity to hear all the proposals so we can make an informed, transparent decision free of backdoor.
Council
deals.
President, I have to,
A decision
attorney-
that will serve the greater good without
Councilwoman Jermaine,
hypocrisy
you have to let the
or
solicitor
personal
speak.
grudges.
Councilwoman Jermaine, you have to let the solicitor speak. We have to have rules of order and decorum. Solicitor Verdecchio.
just to expand on what Attorney Angel accurately stated, if you look at the docket, it's pretty simple. The listed item, there are two numerals, number 1, number 2. Discussion on Park Theater proposal. The comments need to be limited to that topic, the proposal. This is way off topic. And it is a clear violation, in my opinion, of the Open Meetings Act in terms of what is listed on the docket versus what is being said. So if you don't want to follow our legal advice, that's one thing, but we have an obligation to protect the city. And those comments simply do not comport with what you have listed as council communication. It's that simple. Your remarks need to be focused on exactly what is stated on the docket. Your comments have nothing to do with the Park Theater proposal. I assume by proposal, that refers to terms, leases, perhaps pricing, I don't know. But your comments have nothing to do with a discussion on the proposal or the 360 Learn Grant or the question, why isn't the Park Theater considered? So again, this is the second time we are cautioning you that the remarks are off topic and could very well be construed as a violation of open meetings.
Okay. Okay, on the agenda, I made a mistake. I said 260 is 265, learn 265. I think the director touched upon this question earlier. I have a list of questions. I don't know. I'm not used to just Okay. Can you please, Director, give us a little update on the submission of the grant? Because at the time I heard about the grant in the press, there were this rush to submit it because there was a deadline, from what I heard. And I would like to know if the grant was submitted, is Park Theater still considered or isn't it considered? That's the first question. Second question. How many proposals do you have? How many options in terms of facilities? And if you have any, what are the names of those potential facilities? What are the pros and cons? Do you have that? Is there a compelling analysis of all proposal? If there is, can you share them with the council? So I would like to have one. And why I want to ask this question, because that's something that happened. I heard it on the press. At one point, the mayor says the council agree with him. And then the next thing I heard, he said he's pulled back on this. So, and now I'm asking question about it. So that's why I want to make this, why am I asking question about it? So I didn't know I can be limited to say why I am asking question about it.
A couple of things, discussion concerning the Park Theater proposal. Just so we know, there, for the record, there was never a proposal. There was a meeting held, kind of recanting what was, I'll try to summarize things, but recanting where we were. There was the mayor, the city council president, the council minority leader, the head of CCAP, who would be thought to maybe be responsible for programming, the president of the school committee, the superintendent. I'm probably omitting a couple of people, but met just as a brainstorming session to think of ideas given this opportunity. One of the considerations or points of discussion, better said, or potential opportunity was the Park Theater. But before that was to proceed, there was an ask that a cost estimate as to what it would take to improve that facility to bring it, I'll say up to snuff, up to today's standards, and to making the thing kind of spiffy and new. What would it be? So that process was taking place. So that ask was being executed, and a construction firm went and gave an estimate, and as I recall, in the vicinity of approximately $3.1 million for those improvements. What happened was apparently, pardon me, to my recollection, it was approximately 3.1 million, maybe 3.2 million, but it was right in that vicinity. It never became a proposal. Something got, the press inquired to say that there was thoughts, and I think they may have termed it a proposal, to have the Park Theater. And so basically word got out, and there was a lot of people wanting it, and there were a lot of the dissent. And in fact, several council people particularly issued vocally, publicly, their opposition. So it never got off the dime, and the mayor, given that disapproval, and at the time, not knowing the number, the city was allocated about $6.6 million. So between purchase price and the improvements, it kind of made it unrealistic for that facility too tight. Since that $6 million number, it's been expanded because other communities dropped out. It's now at about a $7.2 million number. To be exact, that number is 7,197,191. 7,197,191 is currently the potential allocation for the city of Cranston. So what happened, that got out. It was never a proposal. And then once the numbers came back in the opposition, the mayor said, okay, we won't go in that direction. Though frankly, he doesn't want to see that place boarded up. That's his biggest concern. But I believe there's opposition. He hasn't been pushing it because of it. But certainly, yeah, he would be game and open if, should the council recommend that facility. But it didn't go any further. So yes, the park, I guess, was considered, but it was never proposed. Other than the numbers I told you, there's no other proposals. The concept would be utilizing that facility for the fundamental community center, and then having it available potentially to get some operating income from shows that might come in to still keep it as a theater. So kind of a combination, but with the emphasis of a community center. Whereas if
Can I
profits,
ask one more quick? You said there was an inspector that gave an estimation for other location that you have in mind. Do you have the same inspector goes also to give an estimation for those considered?
Mr. Verdecki didn't. We'll take that.
Again, we need to confine the discussion to Park Theater only. Talking about other proposals or other locations, again, is going beyond what is listed in the docket. We have to confine the discussion to Park Theater.
Point of information. May I please ask the solicitor a question? When we're talking about proposals, and proposal can just mean a plan or a suggestion. If I am not mistaken, it does not have to be a formal written document that's presented for consideration. So we keep saying that we can't, Councilwoman Jermaine can't talk about a proposal. She wanted to say why she wanted to talk about this proposal. Is there a legal definition of proposal that we're going by? Or are we going by the dictionary that says a proposal can be a suggestion, something someone has proposed, like someone has proposed the Park Theater, and they proposed other locations, which I understand why we cannot talk about those.
If I may, Madam President, the agenda, we're going by the Open Meetings Act. The agenda item says Park Theater proposal. That narrows the definition of what we're talking about. We are talking about the Park Theater proposal. We're not talking about every proposal known to mankind.
I understand that, and I did not say that. I asked if we were talking about the proposal as in a suggestion or informal plan, or if it needed to be a proposal as something that was formally submitted, because to my understanding, there were no formal submissions of anything, including the Park Theater. Is that correct? Is that fair to say that we can still talk about it in a general sense? Because Director Moretti keeps saying there is no proposal, but can we talk about it as a general suggestion that came across in a meeting that some of us here attended and then became part of a commentary and statements and newspaper articles. Can we talk about it to what end? Because discussion on Park Theater proposal as a suggestion is a kind of general broad term. And if we weren't allowed to talk about it that way, then I'm unsure why it ever came on the agenda this way.
If I may, I think I understand your point. Without getting into ridiculous semantic hair splitting, I think if the intention here was to talk about proposals in addition to the Park Theater or alternatives perhaps to Park Theater, then it would be wise, in my opinion, to list that as such. So in other words, Park Avenue proposal / alternatives, Something like that, I think would encompass what you're talking about, but the way it's worded on the docket, Attorney Angel is absolutely right. The way I interpret that is one proposal, whatever that is. I don't know what it is. I have no idea. I don't think he does either. But that seems to suggest the way it's written, it's a singular proposal that applies only to the Park Theater. That's how I interpret.
But that can be talked in a very broad sense regarding just the Park Theater. Correct? Can we talk
As long as it's confined to Park
to
Theater.
the Park Theater? Thank you.
Sure, but once we, once we
I
start-
understand delving into other area sites is not allowed because they're not named. It's,
Yeah, I mean, like I
but the
said,
Park Theater, in a general sense, we can talk about it very generally. It doesn't have, there's no specific proposal as in a formal proposal for anything.
well, unfortunately, though, that's the way it's listed. So
But it's
we
listed
have
as
to
a
deal.
proposal, which we can talk about it generally as a suggestion.
Yes.
It was proposed, but there is no written document
To me,
proposal.
to me, proposal suggests something concrete, something that has been offered, something that has been proposed. Proposal is the noun form of the verb proposed.
Mm.
So when I think of proposed, I think of something concrete that has been put on the table and said, okay, here's the proposal. Here it is. I don't want to get into, semantic.
Yeah, it's just, I think it's
hair-splitting.
a semantics thing. The Park Theater has been suggested. There was a whole meeting where people came and talked about it. So we talk about it in that broad general sense?
Well, I mean, I have no knowledge of that meeting. I don't know what was discussed. We don't know
Okay.
what was
Well, Director
discussed.
Moretti summarized also a meeting that was held that I attended, that Council President attended, in which a suggestion of the Park Theater, amongst others, which we can't discuss because they're not listed here. Can we discuss this to the broadest sense?
I think so, yeah,
Okay.
as long as it's confined to the Park
To the Park.
Theater, sure.
Okay, and I think that that's something that Councilwoman Jermaine was looking for as she was trying to speak, just to know that she can speak about the Park Theater in a broad sense.
Okay, this is getting interesting. You know, 2 weeks ago, I accompanied my son to Clemson West High School, open house. I was blown away. I was so excited and was happy to know that he can be there, he can experience this school. And when we were on our way to home, and he told me, Mommy, I feel so anxious and uncertain because I don't think I'm gonna get in because it's a lottery. And that's why when he said that to me, as a student, he wants to go to West because he wants to study architectural design or pre-engineering. And then when I realized that one facility West has and East does not have. And when I heard about Park Theater, well, I would say proposal, but that's how I can say, I don't know how, or suggestion. The one thing they said is we can utilize this facility to Clemson East student, where they could have more programming that they don't have, like culinary, like theater. So I think in my mind, I said, oh, as my son felt so anxious because he may not get in, how many Clemson students who want to do culinary, who want to do theater, but would not have the chance to do it because there is not enough options? And I just say, hey, wait a minute. If the city purchased Park Theater and Clemson student can walk right from here, they don't need to pay transportation. They don't need to have a ride. They can ride across the street to have this program culinary, and I heard that's a lot of students want to do that. They can do theater, and that's the greater good for me. That's why I bring this, because I felt the pain. Not every parent will feel that, but if you have a middle school student that is preparing for high school, you will feel what I feel. Because as a mom, when he went to this school 2 weeks ago, and he felt like this is where I want to be, but there is nothing guaranteed because we do not have enough. And I said, why not? If we can offer this opportunity to Cranston East, who do not have all the option Cranston West has, now more students, more parents will feel at ease. That's why I bring it back to ask question if Park Theater suggestion or proposal can be considered for the Cranston East student, for more students in east side of Cranston can have more programming for them. They can have something for them to that proud about. That's why I bring it here. And I really don't know what's going on tonight, really, because I don't think I said anything here out of line. Okay, I don't think so. And I feel like the pain my son has when he said, I said, cross your fingers. And then I gave him a joke. I said, you know, you went to West in preschool because we used to live in West Cranston. I said, that's why it's like he said, Mommy, it's like we're going back home. I'm going back home. I said, okay, but we're gonna be faithful. Cross your fingers. You may get in. How many parents, how many students who will experience that feeling? So that's why I want to give the background. And I said it, and I saw a lot of, I don't know, I saw a lot of comment before I never make a public statement about what happened when there was, how we call it, a suggestion. I want to know what other suggestion we had, because I think the potential, that's why the potential I see Park Theater offer for Cranston students, I don't think there is another facility that offer that. The proximity of convenience, what just you have your teacher right now. There's a kitchen, there's a theater, and they can have club. There's so many rooms up there, or they can have the club there. That's for the student. So I don't care whatever happened, or whatever grudges, whatever personal grudges, whatever hypocrisy, what it is. I don't care about friendship, whatever it is. I care about what my son went through. We do not have enough. We do not have space. This is right here. A cross concern is, if we can afford that, we can put everything aside. We can do it for the student. That's where I come from. And that's why I bring this. So I will urge, I know Mayor Hopkins doesn't listen, and he doesn't listen to people. He doesn't listen to the council. And if he will make, I don't know he listen, I will say he doesn't. So is it change his way? But this is, if it listen, this is for the concern is they can have something if we can consider it. And also as a representative of Ward 2, where Park Theater is located, I don't feel at ease to see it becomes an eyesore in the community here. So we can use one stone to kill two birds if there is an opportunity. And we can do it in transparency, in honesty. And I believe in that. And that's why I said, and we can offer something equitable. It's gonna be equitable, it's gonna be justice. So I don't know if the Attorney General saw in what I said, I am violating the law, because I don't know, but they can, whatever it is, I am ready to have the consequences. Because myself, I feel anxious too. Because my kids go to Cranston Public School. I would love them, not make it equals. So you doesn't need to struggle to go to West. We can offer it here, right at East. But who can do that? You or he can do that. Just put aside everything. If the park there, if we can, because that's the point. The educational point, when the Cranston East can use it, that stick with me. I don't care about any other list. That's an investment for the future of the student, for the future of Cranston. So I would like to put it for finance, continue this conversation. Probably I will ask someone to help me write down all I think. Maybe I'm gonna put a big statement, I don't know, but because if it's there, it's not going to violate the law, how we can handle it. But I would like Clerk to put this, because Director Moretti could not talk to answer some of the question. So I will do it properly, or the way things change now, the way it should be. So I will ask all of those questions, put it for the Finance Committee meetings, for the next council, Finance Committee meetings. As I mentioned earlier, I see the bigger picture. Because this feeling I had when my son went to the open house, I don't want to see every other parent has this feeling. I will put it, you don't need to answer anything, because my question, you cannot answer them because of open. So I will put those questions. So all of the back here, all the questions, I will put them. All of this, I will put them for Finance Committee. You can answer them over.
Councilman Donegan, I think, did you wish to be heard?
Thank you, Council President. As Chair of the Finance Committee, I certainly would welcome an open and transparent conversation amongst the committee, as well as all members of the council, input from the administration and the public on this matter. I would ask Councilwoman Jermaine, if you have a list of questions that you seek to be answered and responded to at the night of the upcoming Finance Committee meeting, please submit those in advance for those to be, that way they can be properly addressed at the meeting, given that this is time sensitive. And in doing so, I would ask myself, you as well, Councilwoman Jermaine, with Council Attorney, that we can craft a language suitable for the docket that will allow for the appropriate conversation, the appropriate and refined conversation and discussion on this matter. So I would just ask Councilwoman Jermaine, if you could send those questions in writing, if there's, because I sit next to you, there's a list. If you could send those to the administration, please copy myself, Council Attorney, and anyone else you feel pertinent. That way we can get those addressed, because it is time sensitive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Donegan. I agree that that going forward, for that agenda item needs to happen so that we don't have the situation that we have this evening where Councilwoman Germain is wishing to speak about something that is not on the agenda and then not in compliance with OMA. So thank you. And Director Moretti, did you wish to be heard?
Yes, please. Just a word of caution, speaking with the governor's office, is that I believe the time frame for, if we make this the process that you're saying, I'm not saying anything's wrong with it. I just want to advise that I've been advised that the application needs to be in by next Monday. And so it might be a moot point to have this heard subsequent to that. May I suggest perhaps the council president and myself that I may be able to set up a meeting with the governor's office to talk about the process required by the city of Cranston. I don't know if they would make any exceptions, but according to their guidance right now, I think the timing of that would be too late. But feel free to proceed. Don't get me wrong. And maybe in the meantime, we can have some discussion about process. But I just want to mention, I don't want to leave that off the table.
Councilwoman, you have the next item. You had another item.
Madam President, may I ask a question to a solicitor about the topic that we're on still?
Sure.
Thank you. To a solicitor, you can tell me if I word this wrong in asking. Discussion on the Park Theater proposal, the part of that suggestion that was brought forward for the Park Theater included a purchase and acquisition of that property. Would it be proper now to ask you how that would work if indeed the mayor and this body wanted to purchase that property as part of this grant application? What is the process that we need to go through in order if we were so moved to purchase that property?
Well, when you say the process, are you talking about the procedural process? or are you-
Procedurally, yes.
Well, first of all, if this is involving a negotiation to purchase land on behalf of the city, number one, I believe it should be held in executive session. My own opinion, that should not be aired out in public. It's a potential acquisition and involves negotiation, obviously. So I don't know if that answers, but does that answer your
I
question?
mean, the
Is that what you're
process to
concerned about?
to get to that point. But since I have been on the council, we have not purchased, we have not made a real estate acquisition. So I apologize that I don't know the exact process of what we need, these steps that need to be taken to make a real estate acquisition. Does there need to be an environmental study, an appraisal? What is the order that it has to go in? Because if this indeed were to come forward, we don't know exactly how to do that. So I feel like I don't know if anyone else here does, but we are kind of spinning our wheels and kicking a can down a road to nowhere because we don't know what we would have to do to even do this if we wanted to do it.
Well, let me say this, I'm not prepared to shoot from the hip right now and tell you step by step what needs to be done. However, I will research that and I'll tell you exactly what needs to be done if and when we arrive at that juncture.
I don't know if this question is for you, Attorney Videcchia, or for the administration, or perhaps for Attorney Angel. I feel like what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Do we have to propose that we're going to purchase this property before we can ask the governor's office to give us money to purchase this property? Or do we put in that we would like to purchase this property without having gone through the necessary steps to do so? And if they decide that they want to give us the money because they like a general idea that has come forward, and we know the assessment value of the property, we know how much money it will perhaps cost to transform it into a community center. So we can say, yes, we could potentially do that before a negotiation. And then when they say yes, we go through the entire step process, because I just don't know what comes first. And if we don't know that, I don't know how this is even an idea that's, you know, feasible in any way, shape or form, or with anything else, unless we already own city property in which we can just say we want to erect a building here on Green Avenue because it's the easiest thing to do. This seems complicated.
If I may, after discussion with Attorney Videcchia, it seems to me that the council needs a basic primer on how to acquire property. That's number one. Number two, the council needs a more basic primer on what the 365 grant money can be used for. Those are two proper subject matters for a finance committee meeting that can be set at the discretion of the finance chair. We really can't go further with that either process tonight. Now, we've discussed the 365 money before and all of the parameters and restrictions associated with that in at least two meetings that I've been at. But it sounds to me that this is a topic the council needs to have revisited. However, more basic than that is what is the process for the council to be involved in the acquisition of property? At what stage does the council become involved? And what's the role? That's a proper discussion for finance or for a workshop for the council as a whole. It's really up, you know, to the council leadership to decide where that fits in terms of a discussion. Certainly at the committee level, the committee's seat 7, and all council members are welcome to participate. So it's really at the council's discretion how it wants to proceed with those topics.
Okay, just point of information, we need to stop, I believe, calling it Learn 365 money, because when I put it on the docket that way, I was told by Madam President that that was not the proper terminology. It's a separate 365 grant. You need to be part of Learn 365 in order to be eligible to apply for a community center, but they are not the same grant. So however we want to word it, we need to word it properly so we don't keep running into this issue of semantics, or it's not really semantic, but we're talking about, we all know what we're talking about, but it's not going on the agenda in the way that we can effectively talk about it. And I don't want to say that that is purposeful, but we can't move the conversation forward. And I don't know that everybody wants to move it forward, but if we're going to put it on a docket, we should do it properly so that we can talk. And I know that Councilman Donegan, I believe, effectively, said that regarding finance, but Director Moretti said that it's going to be too late at that point. So I don't even know why we're talking. Thank you.
Councilman Campopiano.
Thank you, Madam President. I just have a question for the administration. Can you just clarify the deadlines that need to be met?
End of day next Monday, submission of a specific property that the city is proposing for the community center.
Councilman Wall.
Thank you.
I'm not really sure how to ask this question, so legally stop me. And I think the answer is going to be no. Am I at liberty at all to ask? And I think we were kind of going, because I mean, we're talking about Monday. You're talking about the acquisition of property. Am I at liberty to ask the administration in the very loose and hypothetical conversation of the Park Theater what the loose and hypothetical price of the Park Theater was going to be? Am I at liberty to ask that, or am I in violation? Anybody want? Is that appropriate or no?
I'm careful with the wording, but there is no purchase price on the table. Here's what's happening. Because of the way there is on the agenda, Learn 365 grant status, I believe. I know we can't get council. We have an application that needs to be in a proposal to the state. Under our charter, and rightfully so, the city council has to approve of any acquisition of city buildings or properties. What comes first, the chicken or the egg? What the mayor would want is a recommendation from the council in any fashion of what they believe they would be supporting if he proposes something. So he can propose a facility and it'll be out there, but obviously it will not pass without council approval. So, and I think the council is going to be hard pressed to approve a facility with all the numbers and doing all due diligence before the application. So what comes first, the chicken or the egg? But we don't want this to be a futile attempt to put something out. It would be inappropriate to tie up those funds if we're going to have a proposal that's DOA. And if that helps, but there is no, relative to the park, there has been no negotiation.
Anyone else wish to be heard?
Is there, Madam President, is there any possibility we can have a special meeting about that?
I'm going to speak to the agenda topic that you have under why isn't the Park Theater considered, and under that question. I was invited, as we know, we've discussed it before at the meeting, to a meeting from the administration initially proposing or suggesting different ideas for the Learn 365, a community grant meeting. That meeting was scheduled under the title of Learn 365. But it turns out that it was called something else, community grants. But the Park Theater, in terms of why it isn't considered, is the mayor has articulated in public as well that it wasn't being considered because the cost to purchase and the cost to rehab that facility would exceed the money that was available at that time. I can tell you from my perspective, why isn't the Park Theater considered? There are strict federal guidelines that set forth how that money is to be used. And if we do not utilize that money in accordance with those strict federal guidelines, then the federal government comes knocking and takes that money back. Also, that money, that amount of money cannot be used for operational expenses for a community center. All it can be used for is renovating, purchasing, building, setting up an initial community center. So we as a city would be on the hook for the mammoth size square space of the Park Theater operationally going forward, and it would have to comply with the federal guidelines. And I can tell you offhand, I'm no expert, but just from the questions that I took upon myself in trying to ask and do homework and my own research, reaching out to different state people, et cetera, relative to this funding. A facility that has a private entity in it is not going to be in compliance with those federal guidelines. You can't do both. A facility that is going to host alcohol is not going to be able to have education components in it at the same time. So I think that a lot of this notion that somehow as a city, we're going to be able to use these federally allocated funds for the purchase and renovation and future operational costs with respect to that community center, while also having a private enterprise at the same time, is simply a false notion. And that does not do anything, yes, it's sad the Park Theater couldn't have extra funds of this nature, but according to the federal requirements, they can't be these governmental funds. And there's nothing preventing the Park Theater from seeking private funds relative to its business, as other theater companies have done. There are other grant opportunities, et cetera, et cetera. But I can only speak from my perspective and my knowledge as to why the Park Theater is not being considered. And the other thing I will say is this, in terms of having a special session, it's the administration's, they were aware of the deadline. We are now less than a week away. We as a body, it's not our responsibility to tell the solicitor what to do, to look into the possible opportunities, the legal requirements for it. And I don't see the benefit in having a special session relative to that, because we're not going to get that done by next Monday. And I can tell you, it's not going to be limited to one project, and one that, again, just from my own due diligence and conversations, doesn't fit. Councilwoman Germain, you've got the second subject matter there as your council item.
Thank you. This came out of observations and resident complaint of the danger at the intersection of Park Ave, Pontiac, and Wall Square. This change came after there was a discussion that went wild, but as of now, it's so dangerous, and there are many accidents happen because when you come up from Pontiac and the light is green, and you have driver who want to go through Wall Square, and you have driver that going from Pontiac going down, and that's the problem, where they bump to each other most of the time. They yell at each other most of the time. And this is a big issue. And often I saw accident in that intersection. Often. So my question is, what can be done? Will there be a change or a fix? Because I think if we put a light, another light maybe that say turn left. So if you want to turn to, when you stand on Pontiac, if you're not going straight on Pontiac, you want to go through Wall Square. So you have a light that tells you you can turn, and the driver who on the north side, okay, if you go in north, you can stop and you wait for the light that turn to Wall Square or to Park Ave. That will be a solution, I think. Otherwise, I hope the administration has something, because this is getting very dangerous for the traffic. When you go in south and the driver going north, it's really, really bad. So I don't know if there is anyone from the Department of Public Works here that can speak on that.
What we can do, what happened is, a little history was, I think approximately 3 years ago, 2 to 3 years ago, traffic on Pontiac here heading south, crossing over to Park Avenue, the light was in sync with to have the traffic coming northbound on Rolfe. So to be passing at the same time, and the other side of Pontiac, coincidentally next to the Park Theater, to pause and to be at a stoplight during that activity. It was switched over about 2.5 years ago, where, as you're mentioning, I believe, both where it's Pontiac to Pontiac now is the light is the same, and then with the Rolfe being a staggered entry. At the time, it was switched over because they felt that was a safer pattern. Be happy to speak with the traffic engineer. We can also run some accident reports, talk to police, and to see, we would have data, or we have good historical data comparing the two. And along with that, seeing what one's kind of the worst of the two evils, if you will. And also to see if there's any other suggestions regarding the signals themselves. So we'd be happy to take that on to evaluate. But to have an answer right now without really a study and doing some work, that'd be premature, but we'd be happy to take that on if you like.
Yeah, that would be really great to look into it because I experience it myself every day when we have like, you know, there is no, when you are going, you going north and the driver going south, no one stop. You have to stop yourself, or you are trying and you have driver that trying to go, it might have time to go, and then that's where you have those altercation and yelling at each other and honking happening. And we can prevent, you know, fatalities. We can prevent an accident happen if we do something, I think, on that intersection. Thank you.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Good evening.